Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to share with you my 4 tips for setting and meeting your financial goals in 2021. I'm Melissa Ford. Welcome to Damsel of Success, where we talk about all things money. Please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every single Wednesday. So if you're anything like me, I just love, creating goals that I can strive to achieve. A big part of that is financial goals. And sometimes we could use a little bit of guidance to figure out how to set those financial goals and how to meet them. Today, we're going to talk about not only how to make those goals, but what you can do to stick to your goals and achieve them. So let's dig right in with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to set your financial priorities. Of all of the steps, this is by far the most important. And it's the most important because you really need to get clarity about what those goals should be. One of my favorite people in the FIRE community is Paula Pant. And one of her taglines for her Afford Anything podcast, which is amazing by the way, please go check that out. But her tagline for that show is that you can afford anything, but not everything. And that's what building priorities is all about. You have to decide what's important to you. These priorities should be your priorities, not other people's priorities, not what, your parents or your significant other wants for you, but what you actually care about, because that's ultimately what you're going to take action on. You're not going to take action if you're not inspired by what those priorities are. So make sure that they're important to you. Now, I have a worksheet that can help you out with that process. It's my money mission statement worksheet, and it's totally free. I'll put a link for it in the description below, so you can check that out if you need a little extra help. But essentially, it's all about deciding what is important to you. So for instance, for me, what's important to me is, reaching my FIRE goals. It is saving money to invest in rental property in the future. It is, living in a city that is a little bit more expensive. And it's also getting some donuts from time to time because I love a good donut. But, your financial priorities might be completely different. Maybe you are looking to upgrade your house or your car or pay for your kids' college. All of those things are totally possibilities. But you kind of have to decide which of those things are most important to you. A good way to do this is just to write down a list of all the things that you're paying for right now and then rank them by priority. And you might find in that list of things that you're paying for that there are some things you can do without. Because everything that you decide to do without is going to support the things that you really care about. So that's tip number 1, to set your financial priorities. Tip number 2 is to make sure that the goals that you set are SMART goals. SMART goals refer to goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So let's break that down a little. What does it mean to be a specific goal? A specific goal is something that is meant to lead to an end result. So you're not, for instance, saying save more money. You're saying increase my savings rate to 25%. What does it mean for a goal to be measurable? Well, what I just said is kind of an example of that as well. You're saying you're increasing your savings rate to 25%. So that's very measurable. An attainable goal is one that's within your power to achieve, not somebody else's power to achieve. So back to our example of choosing to increase your savings rate to 25%, you have control over what you decide to spend money on. It's not somebody else that is controlling your money. And so because of that, it would be attainable. A realistic goal means that it's within reason. So if your goal is to make $5 million this year, well, that's amazing if you're already a millionaire. But if you're making, $50,000 a year, that's a really big leap. And I'm not saying you can't do it. By all means, I'm sure somebody out there will do it and I'll be super excited to hear about it. But the chances of, making that big leap are pretty small. So when you're talking about a realistic goal, something that you can reasonably achieve within the time period that you're talking about, which brings us to the next parameter, and that's time bound. So back to our example of I'm going to increase my savings rate to 25%. Well, that needs a little bit more definition. So instead of just saying that you're going to reach 25% savings rate, you need to say, I am going to reach a 25% savings rate by the end of the year. So setting goals with those kinds of parameters in mind, ones that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, is going to give you a lot better chance of reaching the goals that you set. So what kind of financial goals are you considering making? I'm super curious. Next week, in fact, I'm going to be doing a video about what my goals are. So put in the comments below what some of your goals are. I would love to hear what you're trying to pursue, and if there's any way that I can help you to reach them, I would love to hear that too. Tip number 3 is to make an action plan, because that's really the important part. If you don't know how you're going to achieve it and you don't make a plan about how you can reach those goals, well, chances are you're not going to actually, make any progress. So your action plan is going to be comprised of 2 parts. The first part is your actual steps that you're going to take. And I'd like you to get super granular on this, as granular as you're willing to and have time to go. So for instance, if you're working on increasing your savings rate, you might be looking at decreasing your expenses. So maybe you say in January, in week 1, I'm going to review my budget and identify the things that I could live without, that I don't need to be spending money on. So then maybe week 2 looks like saying, okay, last week I figured out which expenses I could live without. This week I'm going to find 2 of those expenses and get rid of them. So maybe that means calling your cable company to, reduce your package, or canceling a subscription box that you don't really like and use anymore. That would be a great actionable thing to do in 1 week. And the following week you could do 2 more, or even 1 more. Or maybe you say every single week, I'm going to attack one of these things to bring my expenses down. As you're setting up your action plan, I want you to pay specific attention to it being doable for you. Because the quickest way to not reach your goals and to stop pursuing your goals is to start feeling bad about yourself for not taking the actions that you said you were going to take. And the easiest way to overcome that is to make sure that those actions are something you can reasonably handle. Let's say that you've decided that, the best thing that you can do, the biggest impact on your budget and decreasing your expenses, is to move to an apartment in a less expensive area. Well, that's not something that you can accomplish in a week. In fact, it's probably something that's going to take you a couple of months to do. So give yourself the space to do that. There's just no point in setting goals and creating an action plan unless it's something that you can actually accomplish. So while I encourage you to be aspirational in your goals, I would like you to be very realistic and very kind to yourself and give yourself a lot of grace when it comes to the action plan to achieve those goals. The second part of your plan is going to be thinking through some obstacles that you might face and how you're going to deal with them. How are you going to handle a situation that you know is going to be challenging for you? So let's go back to our example. You know that you want to achieve a savings rate of 25%. Well, one obstacle to that might be dining out, and, dining out with friends in particular. Maybe your friends are the kind of people who really like to go out and have a good time and buy a lot of drinks and go to expensive restaurants. Well, that can really impact your financial goals. Well, maybe you can start suggesting having a potluck at your place, once a month, where everybody brings their most creative appetizer and, somebody brings a signature cocktail to share. If you did that, you'd be decreasing expenses for everybody. And maybe it's just that space that you need of, 1 night a month where you're not spending a lot of money and you can just tuck that away in savings. The idea here is to find the obstacles that you're going to face and to create a contingency plan for every single one of them. Tip number 4 is to track your progress on a regular basis. That means that I want you to take time on either a weekly or a monthly or a quarterly basis to see how you're doing. It goes back to that measurable part of the goals. And the more in touch you are with your progress, the more motivated you're going to be to make the changes that you need to make and to follow through on the actions that you've planned to take. So I would really encourage you to, set up time with yourself. Put time in your calendar to do this. Make some sort of a spreadsheet or some sort of a tracking device, or download an app that's going to help you track the goals that you're trying to achieve. Maybe on Saturday mornings before you get out of bed, you open up your phone and you just look through and see how far you've made it towards your goals, what actions that you plan to do that week have you actually accomplished, what adjustments do you need to make. Plans can be adjusted, Goals can be adjusted. It's so much better to adjust a goal and adjust a plan than to completely get rid of it because you're feeling defeated. So part of this progress tracking is really going to show you where you need to make adjustments and improvements. And as long as you're making a little bit of progress every week, well, those little things add up. And if you're paying attention to what you're doing and tracking your progress, then your chances to actually meet those goals go up significantly. I have so much faith in you. I know you're going to be able to achieve these goals. I know that the goals that you choose to make are going to be smart and help you to make a better financial future for yourself. So hopefully these 4 tips have helped. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. And if you loved this video, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every single Wednesday. Now that schedule might change up a little bit. I am considering adding a little bit more videos to my schedule. So let me know if you think that's a good idea, if you'd like a little bit more from me in this channel. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful week. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye for now.